It's Chargers week for the first time this season. It's December 6th, and this is the first time that we've said it's Chargers week, but the Chargers are charging, so maybe it's great that the Broncos get the Chargers 2 games to finish out the season. Broncos head to Los Angeles, and we are breaking it down on the DMVR Broncos podcast. Got Alexis Perry, got Todd Davis, and Zach Stevens coming through with you guys today to break down the Chargers. We got our guy Brian Baldinger to join us to break down what's going on with the Broncos offensive line, what happened against the Texans, and how the Broncos beat the Chargers coming up. But first, we're going to start with some Russell Wilson talk. But before that, how you doing, Alexis?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, the last time we talked, we were talking on the Broncos loss, the first time in almost 2 months. Are you still deep in those sad vibes?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned because similar to Sean Payton after watching the film a little bit, there were so many blown opportunities for this team, and that was a very winnable game for them, and just a lot of mistakes that were made, which is frustrating after seeing them really start to build on something there throughout those previous 5 games. So I'm just trying to figure out, was that just a one-off? Is it an outlier for this little back end half of the season? Or is that going to be what we see for the next few weeks?
It's such a good point. And Broncos country is so fragile right now because these past so many years have made them just so skeptical, where 5 straight wins and then 1 loss and people are like, it's over. Yeah, it's done. Yep. It's done. Todd, are players like that, or do players have more of a stable mindset?
No, we're a little bit more stable. We like to relax a little bit more. We kind of understand the ebbs and flows of a NFL season. But it's interesting with this team, and I think winning masks a lot. And, if you look back even over the winning streak, there are a lot of missed opportunities. There are a lot of quote-unquote bad games, but we found a way to win. And now that when you lose, like, everything comes to light and you start to see certain things for what it is. The best thing to hide those flaws, though, is to win. So hopefully we can get a win and people won't think about it as much.
Yeah, exactly, especially going up against the Chargers. And your guys' shoe game, I didn't get the memo. You guys are rocking the nice shoes. Yeah. The Jordans, Todd, you got the green. Alexis, you got the
gray and blue.
The gray, yeah. I mean, you guys are like Sean over here.
Hey, if I can get a shoe deal, that's it. I need that for sure.
Everybody knows I was on the hunt for some ones. So I found these, and I got the jade green as well. I don't know what to wear the green ones with. I might need some tips from Todd.
Maybe some jeans and like a, tan sweater? Because that's what Todd's rocking the green with.
I know. Yeah. We kind of match, but he looks way more fresh than me.
Hey, does Sean have like a signature shoe?
I haven't seen one. I think he just rotates all different types of shoes.
Okay. That's if Sean has a shoe, I might have to cop it.
Hit him up? Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm sure he could hook you up. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I don't think it was a special occasion at all. When we went into the locker room to talk to players after practice, guys were like running out of the locker room, and we were like, what's going on? And people are like, Sean's giving Jordans away in his office. And like Pat ran up and got some. So I'm sure Nike or Jordan hooks him up, and then he hooks up with the players too.
That's dope.
One of the guys that could get those shoes is Russell Wilson, although speaking of guys that have their own brand, he has his own Russell Wilson brand through Nike, so he's probably actually not looking for Jordans. But Russell Wilson has 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Incredible. You offer me 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio from Russ going into this season. I am signing up for that in a heartbeat. But right now, he's on pace to have the fewest passing yards of his career since his rookie season. And we know that his rookie season, the Seahawks asked him to do just don't lose us the games, manage the games. And Russ did a great job. Then he took a bigger role throughout his career. But you never, year 12, year 13 of your career, you never really want to be having your rookie stats again.
Yep.
Right.
So on one hand, it's like, man, Russ's stats are great. On another hand, it's like he's thrown for 200 yards once in the past 8 games.
Yeah.
In today's NFL, he's done that once. That's wild. So the question is, Do the Broncos need more from Russell Wilson over these final 5 games if they want to make the playoffs?
Absolutely. And if they really want to create something, in the back half of the season, because once you make the playoffs, like, everybody's even. It doesn't matter if you won your division. It doesn't matter if you barely made it in. Now it's like you lose once you're out. Like, everybody's kind of at an even playing field. So if they really want to make a push to the playoffs, make the playoffs, they need more passing yards. They need more consistency. They need more big plays from Russell Wilson.
Define more.
You define more. Whatever you think.
So I feel like the Broncos need less from Russell Wilson. Not less passion, not less will to win, not less
believing.
Belief. I think he just needs to do less. I think in Houston, we saw him go deep, 20-plus yards, 8 times. Few of those worked. I mean, obviously, that big bomb for the touchdown to Cortland Sutton, that worked. He hit Jerry Jeudy on the sideline, that worked. But there were so many times where it didn't work. So I need him to limit his game a little bit and go back to what he was doing throughout that 5-game win streak. I just feel like fewer air yards for him is where he's comfortable. Between 1 and 10 yards, that's where he's the most comfortable. Let Russ do what makes him comfortable right now and Sean Payton's offense, and let's not try to push it too much. Run the football, move the sticks, convert on third down. Like, all these things need to happen, but I think those things happen when Russell Wilson is actually doing less.
I love that we kind of have 2 different ideas on this conversation, and you talked about it during the pregame. You said, what do the Texans like to do? They love to throw the ball.
Yep.
Russ, don't try to be C.J. Stroud and throw the ball so much, and I'm kind of right in the middle, because for the 5-game winning streak, Russ had 1 200-yard passing game. That was against the Vikings. That's the only 200-yard passing game he's had. Besides that, they haven't had Russ do much.
Yep.
But so I think, they won 5 straight games doing it that way, and that clearly is their formula to win. 20 passing attempts, 40 rushing attempts every game.
Yep.
But what we do need from Russ for the Broncos to make the playoffs, I believe, especially going up against Justin Herbert twice, who's like C.J. Stroud, loves to throw the ball. Going up against the Lions, Jared Goff, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Crazy enough, he likes to throw the ball a lot. What they do need from Russ is to hit a deep ball or 2. Now, he hit Cortland Sutton in the hands on the second play of the game, and Cortland wasn't able to come down with it. That would have been a big play, but it would have been, 35 yards? So, I mean, not a monster play, but it would have been a big play. And then he did hit Cortland Sutton for that 45-yard touchdown. The Broncos need to hit 2 or 3 of those a game, and that's something that you really haven't been able to ask from Russell Wilson, because the Broncos' big play receiver, Cortland Sutton, has 1 touchdown outside of the 20-yard line, and it was this one in the past game. That was huge to get, but that's the only big play that the Broncos offense has really had. In fact, I think against the Broncos, the Texans had 2 50-plus plays in one game. I think the Broncos have had 2 50-plus plays on offense in the past 8 games.
Damn.
Yeah, pretty much this entire season, which is wild. Now, Cortland's came close to that, it being 45-yard touchdown. It was close to that, but I think in order to go 4-1 down the stretch, like we said the Broncos need to do if they want to make the playoffs, there's going to have to be some big plays here and there, but the majority of it is going to be, you're only going to get 20 to 25 passing opportunities, but you have to hit on those.
Yeah, he has to capitalize. And the reason why I say we need more from Russ is, like, this defense has been playing outstanding through this, like, winning streak, and they're getting, league-leading turnovers. So the first time we don't get 3 or 4 turnovers, then all of a sudden we're losing. I can't bank on us getting 3 or 4 turnovers every single game for the rest of the season and in the playoffs. Like, that's not going to happen. So I think I need more from Russ to be able to make up for, let's say we get 2 turnovers. We got to win that game too.
Right.
And I don't think I've seen it just yet, because this was the first game we didn't get 3 turnovers, and it resulted in a loss. I need more.
I think we need to see better decision-making from Russ. And I think last week was really kind of the first time in the past 6 games that we've seen just generally, like, poor decision-making, because I think he was trying to push it a little too much. It's funny, Next Gen Stats actually put this one out, that Wilson had a season-high 13.6 air yards per attempt last week in Houston. Prior to that, in that 5-game win streak, he was averaging 5.8.
Dang.
So him trying to push it down the field, it just put this team in really bad positions. That's why we saw those 3 giveaways. And when you're giving the ball away and then you're not taking advantage of the opportunities that your defense, I mean, we all know the opportunities that they had to create takeaways on the defensive side of the ball, and they weren't able to come up with them. But I can't even blame them for that. What they've done the previous 5 games, like, that was absolutely outstanding. And you can't expect that to happen each and every week, that you're going to get takeaways. The fact that Russell Wilson and this offense wasn't able to uphold their end of the bargain and take care of the football, that proved costly.
Yeah.
I think it's like the Nuggets. Like, if Jokic goes for 12 and they win, but KCP goes for 30 and Michael Porter Jr. goes for 30 and they have great games, like, we're happy that they got to win, but we don't ultimately want to see Jokic get 12 every game now and hope those guys figure it out. Like, you still want Jokic to come and play and put up 30, and then that's how the team is really successful, and that's how they win championships. And I think that's the same thing we need for us. Like, yes, we won with him having under 200 yards, and it worked, but I don't think that's we can have that, like, long term.
Because no team can have that. Maybe off the top of my head, one team can have that long term, and that's the Tennessee Titans. And we see that they're not doing that this year, but for a little bit of a stretch, because they have a 250-pound, 6'3", absolute monster of a running back, really a generational type of guy. That's how they're able to do it. The Broncos have Javonte Williams, who's a great back, Samaje Perine, Jaleel McLaughlin, who are really good complementary pieces. And the Broncos' offensive line is good. Is it elite? No, it's not elite, but it is really good. But they don't have that guy that just is like no one else in the NFL in order to win that way. So, Todd, you're right. You need your $50 million quarterback to be
$50 million
or $40 million. Right now, I said he's playing like they're counting on him like a rookie.
Yeah,
and that is how it feels like Sean is giving him this offense, and throwing the ball 20 times to running it 40 times feels like they're kind of giving him as much as they would give a rookie, and feel comfortable with a rookie quarterback. Can't have that with a $50 million quarterback. So he does need to do more. Now, stick with that 3-touchdown, 1 interception ratio.
For sure.
That works. But they do need to do more. And let me throw some numbers out just to show you how remarkable it is that he's only had one 200-yard passing game in the previous 8 games. In that 8-game stretch, that's the lowest passing output the Broncos have had since Tim Tebow.
Wow.
Dang.
And how many quarterbacks have the Broncos had since
million.
Tim Tebow?
Wow, we've had a plethora.
Can you name them, Todd?
No, I cannot.
And that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Your teammates too.
There's too many. Sometimes I forget somebody.
They've probably, I mean, there's been more quarterbacks than there has even been like inside linebackers, starters, and backups.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's 2 quarterbacks on a team each year, and there's 4 or 5 inside linebackers on a team each year.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It just shows you the carousel that they've had at the quarterback position. He's averaged 171 passing yards since week 5, since really things have picked up. Right now in the NFL, that would rank 33rd. There's 32 starting quarterbacks. That would be behind Kenny Pickett. The Broncos are the only AFC team, or among the playoff teams in the playoffs right now. Only the Steelers have fewer passing yards. And what do you say about the Steelers? You're like, well, incredible defense, and like that coaching job is just incredible. No one wants to be the Steelers offense. No one
not at all.
wants that. Right now, the Broncos average over the entire year the 26th passing yards, or most passing yards in the NFL, so almost bottom 5. And here's the one that I wanted to see, like, where successful teams are. Of the teams in the top half of the league in passing yards, 9 have a winning record, 3 have a losing record, and 4 have a 500 record. So like 9, 3, and 5.
Yeah.
Of teams that are in the bottom half of passing yards, 4 have a winning record, 8 have a losing record, and 4 500. So there's a clear correlation with passing yards. The Broncos aren't going to ask Russell Wilson to be in the top 5, but it just shows that you do have to have a good passing game above 200 yards, really around like 225 in order to win. So what the Broncos have been doing has just been so impressive that they've been able to win while getting 171 yards since week 5.
It's because they're not making mistakes.
Yeah.
When you're playing, I don't want to say timid, but maybe it is a little bit of a timid offense. you don't put yourself in position to make mistakes. That means you also don't put yourself in position to make really big plays. You're not going to see those, 20-plus yard plays, those, the Patrick Mahomes, the Jalen Hurts, those magical moments. You're not going to see those from Russell Wilson. But right now, for where Russell Wilson is at in his career, that's working for him, and it's working with all Sean Payton is doing is just trying to get the most out of his pieces that he has, right? So this is what he believes. He's an offensive genius. This is what he believes is best for his offense. Why they decided to air it out a little bit more last week and lose that game, I'm not really sure. Maybe they weren't trying to be so predictable. However, it was really clear that Houston knew exactly what they were doing. They were incredibly predictable throughout that game. And we saw it on the Cortland Sutton, the Stingley pick. I mean, you could break that play down for us, Todd. They knew. They baited Russell Wilson into that play. And so when you're that predictable, I think maybe being as basic as humanly possible might actually work.
Well, you're spitting facts, but it scares me a little bit.
I don't love it.
Because of what's coming up this weekend with the Chargers. And let's talk about that after I tell you about our friends over at Circa, where we're taking the road come week 18. We are hitting up Circa in Las Vegas to see the Broncos take on the Raiders, and we want you to join us. The Broncos Circa road trip and what we've got going on. They're giving a package. They're putting a package together for people to join us on this trip. They're giving you 20% off a 2-night stay at the Circa Resort and Casino in Vegas, 2 tickets to the Winter Swim and Concert, 2 passes to Stadium Swim, DNVR tailgate and watch party tickets at Stadium Swim, an annual Die Hard membership, and an option to buy a game ticket as well. So head to the link in our description for details on the podcast side and over at YouTube to join us. It's going to be an awesome weekend, and it's pretty much just a month away. So make sure to check it out and join us.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. It's going to be a fun weekend. Shout out to our friends over at Baxton Shanker. When you get hurt, Baxton Shanker is here to help. Call them right now to set up a consultation. Smash the 222-2222 to set up a consultation. Baxton Shanker has been helping families in Colorado for over 25 years. And the great thing about them is there's no upfront fee to speak with them about your case, no fee while they work on your case, and no fee unless they win your case. They've won over $1 billion for their clients, and they are serving all parts of Colorado, including offices in Denver, Aurora, Inglewood, and Fort Collins. If you've been hurt or seriously injured, call our friends over at Baxton Shanker. Smash the 222-2222.
I mentioned the Die Hard package. We actually have our Die Hard memberships on sale through this weekend. $20 off. So instead of $80, it's going to be $59.99. If you want to get in, you're going to get a free shirt when you sign up, and every single year it renews. It gets you discounts at the locker, gets you access to comment on our podcast. It gets you so many things. So make sure to check out the DNVR to get in on that as well.
Question on the shirt. Do you get to choose the shirt?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Any shirt.
It could be the Pats or Tan shirt.
It can be the Pats or Tan shirt. Speaking of Pats or Tan shirt, stay tuned for maybe something else.
Yep.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. Okay, so stay tuned for the Broncos game this weekend as well, where what do the Texans like to do? They like to throw the ball on offense. What do the Chargers like to do? They like to throw the ball on offense. In fact, when you look at Russell Wilson and Justin Herbert's stats, Russell Wilson, 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Justin Herbert, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, very similar completion percentage. They're nearly identical, except Russ takes more sacks and Russ throws the ball like 70 yards per game less than Justin Herbert, which just shows how much they like to pass the ball out in Los Angeles, but clearly not as efficient when it comes to getting touchdowns, and then I guess a little more efficient when it comes to throwing interceptions. But that's kind of exactly what C.J. Stroud and the Texans were too. So Alexis, do you think that Sean is going to put the exact amount on Russ's plate this week like he did last week?
No. I think he learned his lesson. I think he's going to dial things back a little bit and simplify. I think that's probably the key for this team, especially on the road. I know that SoFi against the Chargers, the Broncos are in town. It's a home game. I get it. But for some reason, the Broncos just they've lost the last 3 straight games against the Chargers on the road. So there's something to be said for that. So I think you just dial it back a little bit, keep things simple, run the football, control the clock, and let your defense go out there and make Justin Herbert look like the Justin Herbert that he's been kind of the past 2 years. He's really taken a bit of a dip from his previous 2 seasons. So, yeah.
I don't disagree with you.
But
what if I told you the Chargers give up the second most passing yards in the entire NFL?
I don't like it. I still don't like it. It's not that I don't think you play. Todd, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you really play to the matchup. Like, just because they give up so many passing yards, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden Russell Wilson is going to find this incredible connection with his receivers. He's going to start seeing his receivers in the first place. Like, that is something that he's struggled with since he's been in Denver. And I don't think just because you're going up against the Chargers, whose secondary struggles a bit, is going to make Russ see the field any better on game day.
I feel like I'm torn because as I watch the film, there's so many guys that were open. Like, you know, I don't care if Sean has to just tell him before the play, like, hey, you know, find Jerry Jeudy on this play. Don't go anywhere else. Just look for Jerry Jeudy. He'll probably get open. I just see such a big opportunity there for them, and I know it's going to depend on the flow of the game as well. Like, if the Chargers come out and then we're up 14-0, like, we're going to start throwing the ball, and we'll probably throw it the rest of the game. Yeah. So just like the Texans game, Texans struck first. It caused us to kind of play from behind, and I think that's what caused us to throw so many passes or take so many deep shots. I think it depends on the flow of the game with this week. If the Chargers are coming out hot, trying to throw the ball, if we get down early, I think Sean's going to like try to pass the board more.
Yeah. And maybe there's reason that you'd have success doing that, but I think great teams are able to adjust to who they play week in and week out. Like, there was some crazy stat, like the Patriots with Tom Brady were the only team in NFL history to throw the ball 50 times one game and then the very next week run the ball 50 times. Yeah. That's because you have Tom Brady. And great teams are able to adjust to their opponent, what their opponent does well. But when you're not a great team and you're trying to put it together,
right?
I agree with you, Alexa. You got to kind of stick with what you do well.
Yeah.
Now, when you watch the Chargers, there are guys wide open in their secondary, running wide open, and it's going to be key, the 3 or 4 plays that's happening, that Russ finds Jerry Jeudy wide open 1 or 2 times, that he finds that Marvin Mims and is able to lead him and hit those. And I think that's what the Broncos need to get from Russ in these final 5 games, is just those 1 or 2 big plays that are open down the field, get them. And then when you get them, then that 171 passing yards turns into 220 yards. And that 50 yards is the difference in the game, considering 8 yards was the difference in this past game.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's just good for him and, you know, leading into next season. Like, nothing's out of the equation for the Broncos at quarterback next year. I think they are treating him like a rookie, so I don't know if in Sean's mind, like, maybe a rookie can do what he's doing and they can kind of evolve this guy. So I think it's important, even for next year, that Russ puts together a good passing attack, you know, the last 5 games of the season.
It's a really good point. Alexis, do you think the Broncos are sold on Russ for the future?
No, because I think the offense that we're seeing right now is not the offense that Sean Payton wants to be running whatsoever. Sometimes I feel like during a game, he like almost forgets that it's Russell Wilson and not Drew Brees out there. So he'll like call a play and we're like, no. Russ can't do that yet. Hold on, wait. Because keep in mind, like, it is a very complicated system. Like, this is something that when people are like, is it physical? Is it mental? Like, Sean Payton's offense is not easy. You would think that a veteran like Russell Wilson would be able to pick it up a little bit quicker, but I don't know. It's just not working and it's not clicking for him right now. I want to go to this comment really quick that somebody just said. They said something about establishing the run and then, you know, taking shots deep. Play action has been Russell Wilson's strong suit this year. When they run play action, he has been incredibly successful. Hold on, I have some fun little stats that I want to throw out. He has a 124.9 passer rating when using play action this season. Let's go back to Houston, because I think that this is a really good game, because we cannot see that kind of game from Russell Wilson again. Play action. He was 6 for 9 for 122 yards, 1 touchdown, 146 passer rating. No play action, 9 of 17, 64 passing yards, 3 interceptions, and a 22 passer rating. So you have to establish the run, because the threat of the run is going to really open things up for Russell Wilson. So Javonte, Samaje, like, I want to see those guys out there and used a little bit more, because right now defenses are just genuinely not respecting Russell Wilson's arm.
Man, those are great stats, and I think it was you after the postgame said, or on the postgame show said, there was too much balance in this game. What do most teams strive for? Balance. The Broncos actually don't, and they strive for the opposite balance: run 40 times, throw the ball 20 times, and then that play action is really going to help. And that could be a huge thing this game, is establishing the run. Over the entire season, the Chargers have an average run defense, but over the past 4 games, they've been atrocious. They've given up 200 rushing yards, 102 rushing yards, 197 rushing yards, and 148 rushing yards. So the Chargers defense is just bad.
Yeah,
even though that shows you how trash the Patriots offense is. Because even against this really, really bad defense, the Patriots scored 0 points. So that's Broncos offense is better than the Patriots offense by a wide margin.
We should still be terrified of Khalil Mack. Worth noting.
It's a good point. Why?
He leads the league in sacks this year. He has 15 sacks, like quietly too, because the Chargers have been so bad. But like 15 sacks, the guy's an absolute beast. And given what we saw from this Broncos offensive line last week up against Anderson, man, Anderson, defensive rookie of the year? I don't know. Probably not.
Looks solid.
But he could be.
He
It's in the
just
conversation.
closed the gap on Jalen Carter.
See? Yeah, he played really, really well. And I'm just a little nervous going up against Khalil Mack back-to-back weeks. You have Russ like running into pressure, and it's just like, no.
It's not like we've seen Khalil Mack ruin a game before.
Yeah, never, not once.
He's on pace to like almost break the all-time record of sacks for a season, and I didn't even realize he led the league in sacks until last night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, quietly, he is doing that quietly. So that's going to be a key for the Broncos offense.
2 sacks in 3
is
straight
to
games.
slow him down. Yikes. Does it continue this week?
Probably.
No.
No? You don't think so?
No, I
Good.
think we can stop one guy. I don't think they were prepared to stop Will Anderson. Like, I don't think they game plan for him, and that's why he has success.
Yeah.
I think we can game plan for, especially with Bosa not being there on the other side. Like, we can game plan for Khalil Mack, and the great thing about him is he's not gonna line up over the center and like move all. He's an edge rusher, and we can chip, we can double team, we can make sure that he doesn't have at least 2 sacks against us.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of the Myles Garrett thing, right? You're ready for Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett wasn't neutralized. You can kind of do the same thing with Khalil Mack.
I think so.
Chris Manhertz, put him out there. Let him handle him.
Yeah.
Let's go, Chris.
Probably a lot of Samaje in this game to help with that.
Exactly.
And I think the same thing with Jaleel happened this past game where a couple weeks ago, he touched the ball on 70% of his snaps. I think he touched the ball on like 8 of 10 snaps that he was out there. Do defenses pick up on that, Todd?
For sure.
I
They're
have
keying
to
in on him.
imagine.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So how does an offense adjust to that? Is it just less Jaleel, or because I just keep thinking like, oh, he's got to be just a piece that they put on the field and then don't give him the ball, but they just haven't done that yet.
I think it takes one big play where he's a decoy. That's where you get everybody timid and on their heels, and now the coach can't say like, no matter what, get this guy when he's on the field, because that's where they're going with the ball.
Right.
Like, it takes one big play where they use him as a deep decoy, whether it's a double pass, reverse. I think that's what needs to happen to make teams feel like he can do more than just always get the ball on a toss or that's all he's doing.
Right. Right. Yeah. Maybe they could do a. Are you letting Jaleel throw the ball?
Yeah, because I think he'll be wide open. Because the coach is telling this corner, like, if he's lined up to your side, be ready for the toss, because that's what they run.
Yep.
So be ready to come downhill. Put Cortland Sutton over there, act like he's blocking.
Yep.
1,000, 2,000, he takes off downfield. I think he'll be wide open.
Oh, man. I love that. Now, this would be a good week to break it out.
Yep.
And if you want to be there in SoFi Stadium to see the Broncos win their first game in SoFi Stadium, check out our friends over at Game Time. Use the code DNVR to get $20 off your first purchase, or if you're going to be at the game in Denver on New Year or Christmas Eve against the Patriots and you want to go to the game, use the code DNVR over at Game Time for $20 off. They have also got tickets for nearly every single event, concert, sporting event, all across the country. Check them out. They've got the Game Time guarantee as well, so you know that you're going to get the best price there. And the all-in feature is so key, because the worst thing is getting like a $100 ticket. You go to checkout and they're like, it's $210. You're like, oh, you told me it was $100.
Yeah.
But they've thrown all their fees on. Game Time doesn't do that with their all-in price. So check them out. Game Time, use the code DNVR.
I got tickets for a Nuggets game last week, like $114 for $34 on Game Time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. So check them out, and it was kind of last minute. It was like a few hours before the game. I was like, yeah, I'll just see what's going on. It was who did we play? I don't even remember. We blew them out. That's all I remember.
Yeah, it had to have been a no-name team for it to be $34.
I know, it was $34. It was fun though. It was like a random Wednesday, Thursday night.
Yeah.
Like it was perfect. And if you're pre-gaming for said Nuggets or any other game that you're using Game Time with, make sure you guys check out Breckenridge Distillery. Like you guys all know, they still have the Battle of the Broncos blends going on, Ed McCaffrey versus Alfred Williams. So you guys can vote and win Breckenridge Distillery and Broncos swag. To enter that, just go to BreckenridgeDistillery.com/bourbon-of-Denver-Broncos and use hashtag Broncos Bourbon. You guys can also win 2 tickets to the Broncos and Chargers game here at home on New Year's Eve. That's going to be such a blast. So check that out. Breckenridge Distillery products, they're available in all 50 states. So shop your local retailer or visit BreckenridgeDistillery.com.
Boom.
Après. Anywhere.
And we have 2 bottles of Breckenridge bourbon on our set, and one of them's open.
Somebody
Is it,
crack that
one
open.
of you two?
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
You
I was
here?
in Mexico. I wasn't.
You had your own
Unfortunately,
bottles.
I have my own thing going on.
It
with
was
this.
not. It was not a winner's lounge the other day, so we
It was
didn't.
not.
We weren't. We didn't break
I
it
think
open
those
for
might
that.
taste a little bit better when you're sad.
Oh, better.
Oh.
It might
When
taste a
you're
little bit better when
sad.
you're sad because
Wow.
they don't just taste good, you also forget.
Okay.
Someone to cheer us
Drinking
up?
our sorrows.
Do we
I
have
got
Baldy? Not yet. We're waiting for Brian to get here. But until he does, when you look at the Chargers, Todd, what sticks out?
They are not nearly what people projected them to be. And they can't figure it out. They can't seem to turn around. It's tough. My dog EK is over there playing linebacker, and he's giving all he has, but that defense is looking pretty poor. I just see a lot of opportunities for us as a team, both defensively and offensively. I think there's a lot of things that we can capitalize on. Justin Herbert, I think he's trying to figure it out, so he's telegraphing a lot of his throws right now. So I think there's a availability for picks there. Like you talked about, this defense is not very good in the secondary, so I think there's opportunity for big plays. Most of all, I just see opportunity when I look at this, this Los Angeles Chargers team.
Yeah.
Is it scheme? Because when I look at on both sides of the ball, there's so much talent at specific places. It's not everywhere. But it's just like, man, the offense underachieves, the defense really underachieves. What is it?
I think Staley's a good coach, but I think he hasn't figured it out like Vance has to just simplify for the guys.
Yeah.
I think he's just waiting on them to click and pick it up, and it's just not happening. And he doesn't want to change the system because he knows it's a good system. He knows it works before, and he just hasn't decided to simplify it for the guys to do better.
Yeah.
And I think on the offensive side of the ball, you've seen 3 different offensive coordinators in the last 4 seasons. And currently in Denver, we have Joe Lombardi now. So this is the first season that Justin Herbert is working with their new offensive coordinator. And I just think that sometimes there's growing pains there. And it's hard, like we know here in Denver, it's hard to find consistency and to really win games when things are changing year after year. So, yeah.
Yeah, all right. We've got our guy, Brian
I heard the ding.
Baldinger here. Yeah, we heard the ring. Baldy, what is going on? Look at you, almost in a full suit for us.
Ooh.
I just had to do some stuff with the Jets today, so I'm just pulling in. So I don't have to write an epitaph or anything like that, but it's close to that up there in New York right now.
Oh, Baldy, we were just talking about Russell Wilson and how he, over the past 8 games, only passed him for 171 yards per game. In that span, he only has 1 200-yard passing game. For 5 straight games, we saw it work for the Broncos, be able to win 5 straight. Obviously not this week. Is it sustainable for the rest of the season to only ask for 171 passing yards per game? Or at some point, for the Broncos to make a playoff push, do they need more from Russ?
Well, no, I don't. I mean, it's sustainable, especially with the opponents you have coming up. But I just thought they were too much bombs away last week. Like there's just too many deep shots and they weren't connecting on them. And I just thought they kind of got away from what was working with them. I thought they should have been doing more dink and dunk and more running than what they did last week. The game was never out of hand. They certainly had their chances at the end to go win it. So it's sustainable because as long as you're not turning the ball over, and they did that last week, then it's sustainable because the Patriots aren't going to score points against you. The Chargers are stuck in the mud right now. So, the only game that really on the schedule, I don't have it in front of me, but I know Detroit's there in Detroit, and they're capable of scoring a lot. So, as long as you don't let a guy like Nico Collins go crazy, You should be able to keep the score down.
Yeah, Baldy, we know you're the O-line mastermind, and you're very smart about anything O-line related. We had talked last week about this group playing together, being able to build over this 5-game winning streak, really looking like a pretty good offensive line. Were you surprised to see what felt like kind of like a step back from this offensive line against the Texans?
From the very first play. I mean, Will Anderson beat, McGlinchey on the first play and hit the quarterback on the very first play of the game. And I hadn't seen that. And Will Anderson was everywhere. But that's just one guy. Greenard, you pick guy, Malik Collins. Like, they beat him up pretty good up front. But they were holding the ball and taking their shots, and so I don't think it helped them. But at the same time, like, I hadn't seen Will Anderson play like that all year. I mean, he's a good player, but I hadn't seen him play like that, where he was everywhere. And so I do think they took a step back last week, and I was surprised.
Yeah, Baldy, given the Broncos' first half, really on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, really struggling. You see the defense come out in the second half and really clamp down. And the Broncos' offense starts to fight back as well. Why did they come up short? It seemed like they had some momentum there in the second half, but you see that mistake there at the end by Russell Wilson. Was there something else that he should have done in that situation? How do you see the end of that game playing out, and what should he have done differently?
I thought, I think the third down interception, you didn't have to, make that throw right there. You didn't have to win it. You still had time. You have to win it on that throw. So I thought that was, Russell was not smarter than that, but I thought he would have been a better decision maker than that. It'd been nice if when Jaquan, McMillan got the ball out of C.J. Stroud's hands, it'd be nice if somebody recovered a fumble right there.
Yeah.
The ball's just laying on the ground, 3 guys miss it. That's loose change. Like, you can't miss that. Like that, I saw the reaction of Patrick Surtain. He was just to me, that was the ball game right there. That was the chance to go win it right there.
Right.
It's an opportunity. I mean, you only get so many opportunities to win games like that.
Yeah, it's so true. And now the Broncos have to get back on the winning way this week against the Chargers. And my question to you is, who are these Chargers, Baldy? Because 4 weeks ago, we saw them lose a shootout 41-38 to the Lions. And then just a couple weeks later, just last week, we see them win 6-0. That's wild to see 2 games like that in a single season, let alone in a month span. Are the Chargers a good offensive team, a good defensive team? Because their points per game and the amount of points that are being scored in their games has dropped significantly over the past month.
Well, Khalil Mack is having a phenomenal season. I mean, he was the best football player on the field last week. He made a big difference in that game. Outside of Keenan Allen, really nobody scares you on that offense. And they move him around, and Kellen Moore's done a good job with them, and he's having a monster year. But look, they probably lean on him way too much. Every third down is going to Keenan. Red zone is going to Keenan. They can't finish. They have a hard time finishing games with a chance to win games. They've had many opportunities this year. Miami, Tennessee, games that they lost that they had a chance and they just couldn't finish it. Sometimes that's the quarterback. They don't run the ball particularly well, and they don't tackle or cover well. The Patriots just couldn't take advantage of it because they're just that bad at quarterback and receiver. So they couldn't take advantage of it. But, they'll break down the secondary. It's just a matter of time. And then they don't tackle well at all. And so, they just do weird things dramatically, defensively. They just give up the biggest plays. And so they're not a sound team at all defensively.
Yeah, Baldy, you brought up Khalil Mack, and we all know he's leading the league in sacks right now and having a really good season. He's the bright spot on that defense that I feel like is terrible at best. How do the Broncos neutralize him? How do we stop him from having a Will Anderson type game? He's had multiple games with multiple sacks. How do we neutralize Khalil Mack?
Well, you just handled Myles Garrett 2 weeks ago, and so he was probably the front runner for the MVP until that game. They got hurt in that game, so that helped. But Khalil right now, it's not just protection, pass protection. I saw him hit Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know how Ezekiel Elliott got it from the hit. He looked like a crash test dummy flying inside a car. He hit him so hard. They move him around, and so they put him in different places. They'll rush him over the guard, and so you can't just say, okay, well, we're going to slide our protection to him because he's not going to tell you where he's lined up until he's lined up. But you have to account for him on any given play, like whether it's sliding Cushenberry or taking the back over there, you better have 2 sets of eyeballs on them, whatever the down and distance is right now. I mean, that's where it starts right now.
Baldy, if the Broncos win this game, they have a 36% chance of making the playoffs. If they lose, that drops to about 15%. What makes you believe that this Broncos team will make the playoffs, if anything?
I do think they're better. I think they're better coached than the Chargers.
Okay.
I think they have a better formula to win games than do the Chargers. This is a division game. They've already beaten the Chiefs. Like, these division games count as 2. And so you could basically knock the Chargers out of the playoffs, which would make the second game of the Chargers maybe easier that you have left. But I just believe they're better coached and they have a better formula. And even last week, I mean, I thought they had plenty of chances to win that game. I think they're going to give themselves a better chance to win the game. Just because fundamentally, I think they do better things. I think they tackle better. I think they have a better defense than the Chargers do. So I would say, take Keenan Allen out of the game, and you probably will keep them, under 2 touchdowns.
And speaking of taking Keenan Allen out of a game, I know that week in and week out, you can't always just put your number 1 corner on a number 1 receiver. You can't do that for an entire game, week in and week out. But when I look at this game, they're without their number 2 receiver. They're probably going to be without their number 3 receiver in Josh Palmer. Their next leading receiver is a tight end with like 200 receiving yards when Keenan Allen's going for 1,100 right now for this game. Can you make it as simple as saying 90% of the game or a high percentage of the game? Pat, you're going to be on Keenan Allen. Take him out of the game.
Absolutely. I mean, I know he's making up the plea with Vance to do that. He wants that. He's done that with Devontae Adams. Like, this is a Patrick Surtain game. You can, because for many of these games, he's kind of invisible. He's not asked to do a lot. They're going at Fabian or they're going at Jaquan, whatever. But I believe this is a game for Patrick Surtain. You've got a chess piece that can literally – now, Keenan Allen has seen the best corners his whole life. And he's got he's a router. So, it will test Surtain, but he wants that test. Like, I would do that in a heartbeat. Like, that's exactly what I would do in this game.
I love it. I love it, Baldy. Love your insight week in and week out. Make sure to find him on the All NFL show where it's on YouTube, on podcast. Baldy, we love your insight. Thanks for joining us.
All right. I'll talk to you next week.
Right on. Sounds great. You guys feel better or worse about the Broncos and their chances this week after talking to Baldy?
Better. I think he confirmed a lot of our comments about the Chargers being a pretty terrible team. I think, the Broncos, they do have a good strategy to win games. Didn't work out last week, but they do have a good strategy to win games, and so I think we can get a win.
Is it as simple as saying, Pat, cover Keenan all game?
Yeah, and if somebody else beats us, then we live with that.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening. I mean, they scored 6 points against the Patriots last week, but I think you would live with that, if it was anybody else on the team having a phenomenal game. And I think our guys, regardless of or outside of Pat, have played really well. Fabian's played well. J-Mac has played well.
Yeah.
Our linebackers have played well, so I think they'll be good against the matchups, even against tight ends. Like, I feel like we're favored against almost every matchup on the field, especially when you put Pat on Keenan Allen. It makes for a really, really good game for us.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. Like, this Broncos secondary, they're stellar. Yeah. And, we've kind of seen the emergence of PJ Locke this season and in critical moments. And I think, if, like Todd just said, if somebody else beats us, which I even kind of doubt will happen given the talent that they have outside of Keenan Allen, then okay, so be it. Somebody just messed up on a play. Like, it's not like concerning if one guy beats us on one play. I just don't think it's going to happen that often throughout this game. So yeah,
I agree. I think the Broncos are going to be able to keep the roof on this defense on this offense. And if you need a roof, check out our friends over at Red Hawk Roofing. Whether it's for your home, whether it's for your business, Red Hawk Roofing is there for you. They have quality materials, decades of experience, a quick response time. They've got Colorado's best estimators and contractors, free no obligation roof and property inspection, free in-depth photo reports for all inspections, and of course, they've been part of the DNVR family for a long time, so you can trust them when you give them a call and check them out over at redhawkroofing.com, and make sure to tell them that DNVR sent you.
And it's the middle of December. but the sun is still out, so you got to make sure you're protecting your eyes. Make sure you check out our friends over at Shady Rays. You can take on the sun with gear that's built to last. And the great thing about Shady Rays is right now, if you use the code DNVR, you get 50% off 2 or more polarizing shades. That's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements, meaning if you lose it, if you break it, even on the first day you get it, they will replace them, no questions asked. Shady Rays is great, man. They also have goggles. If you're hitting the slopes, I'm going to get out there myself. I don't know how good I do, but you know what I'm saying? I'll have my Shady Rays on, so I'll be looking good. Check out our friends over at Shady Rays using the code DNVR to get 50% off 2 or more polarizing shades.
Wait, do you ski or snowboard?
I have skied or snowboard. I don't say I do.
I do.
Yeah, I said I have, and I'm going to try it again.
It's not a part of your identity. Like,
No,
you're not
not
a
yet.
snowboarder.
No.
Okay, got it.
And
No,
you are,
Johnson.
though, right?
Yeah, remember I told you about my left foot?
Yeah.
Yeah. My wonky little left foot is, it's a little sketchy on skis, I'll tell you that much. I might go back to snowboarding every now and then this year, just to,
Stick with skiing.
it's embarrassing.
Every kid starts off with skiing. And then when you're
Yeah.
too cool for skiing in
Yep.
middle school, you switch over to snowboarding. Then you go back to skiing.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that I could do both, right? It's just, I don't like a learning curve. Like, I don't like to spend half my season trying to learn how to look like I've skied before. You know what I mean? I want to be good day one, which is frustrating for me. So, yeah, I won't give up. I'm not going to give up,
Never
but
give up.
I might just mix in the snowboard every now and then.
Okay,
and get
that's
myself
fair.
some
Keep the
Shady
confidence up.
Rays goggles
Yep.
for sure.
Todd, is it true that there's like there's some clauses in some contracts of like
Yeah.
no skiing, no snowboarding, no
Motorcycles.
paragliding, like things like that? Is that
Yeah.
true? Is that in
Yeah.
everyone's contract?
I don't know if it's in everyone. I think it is now after, who was it? Ben Roethlisberger got hurt in the motorcycle. I think after
Yeah.
that, they kind of put it on everybody's contract. You're an investment, man. They don't want their
Yeah.
their money just getting, broken ankles and neck all on the slopes.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to be either if I'm a player, because if
Yeah.
you get hurt on team property doing team workouts, you're covered.
Exactly.
If you're hurt, even if you're working out off team property, we've seen it happen to a couple of guys where a team then says, "Oh, we're going to try to get out of this contract if we
Right.
don't like you."
That's sad.
They can do that. Yeah, it's really sad, especially when it's guys that are working out, trying to get in
Exactly.
shape, or even just like playing basketball and a guy gets hurt.
Yeah, because we're trying to get prepared for the season. So I think anything that we're doing in preparation for the season should be covered by the team, because it's all
Yeah.
work
True.
related.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even though we're not physically at the facility. So
And
What
if
I
they
do
like
know-
you, they'll keep you.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if they
they gotta
don't,
like
they're
you,
going to
yeah.
try to get out of it.
It's very obvious from last year that snowmobiling was not in the contract of anybody's contract, because the entire team went up to somewhere. Was it Aspen? And went snowmobiling, and I was like, huh. Like, also very dangerous, but like
Yeah.
apparently not in the contract.
Yeah.
So they found the loophole, which is
Yeah.
kind of nice. Yeah.
All right, let's hop into the comment section. And before we do, there's one thing in this game that I don't think we've talked about yet that I was so weirded out when it happened and then just totally forgot about it. The Broncos took a timeout coming out of the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, that was weird.
They had 3 timeouts. It was a 4th down, and they took a timeout. So if they didn't get the 4th down, they had 3 timeouts to still get the ball back if they wanted to. Was that as weird to you guys as it was to me?
Yeah, for me, I'm like, you're putting a lot of faith in your offense to go down and score right now a touchdown, right? Like, you could have actually left time on the back end, and maybe got the ball back and then tried to score again. Sean Payton, I feel like, had a lot of trust in that offense to score on that possession. So that was a little weird, in my opinion.
Yeah.
was it a problem in communication? I was on the plane for the last 2 minutes. So I feel like with him saying there's a problem in communication, if we need more time to discuss getting this 4th down, then I think that's maybe could be the reason why they took it. But like I said, I was on the plane.
Yeah, that's. I'll ask Sean about it today, and I think we'll have an idea
Yeah.
if it was his timeout or if it was something else going on.
Something else happened,
By
yeah.
the way by how frustrated he is when he
Yeah.
talks about it. So we'll find out. But let's hop into the comment section. Romel coming in and says, "I'm a Russ stan." Apologist, but I'll admit he needs to play better. Texans game was just a bump. They've faced adversity by 70 points, and I'm banking on the Broncos getting back on track. There you go, believing in the 5-game winning streak.
Yeah.
And you're not crazy for believing in a 5-game winning streak. They're still 5-1 in their last 6 games. So,
Right.
But they do need to turn it around going up against the losing team in the Chargers this week.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, he's not the first good quarterback to throw 3 interceptions.
No.
CJ Stroud did it earlier this year, and
Yeah.
he's still a dominant quarterback right now. So, yeah, I think they can beat the Chargers.
Exactly.
That should be easy.
Mr. Rocket says, fans are split about Russ, but the criticism comes because of his play. Plus the contract. I would prefer if the Broncos, especially in the draft, got a quarterback to develop. And I asked you guys earlier, are you sold that the Broncos are sold one way or the other on Russ? And the answer's still out on Russ.
Yeah.
And it's so fascinating. And there's going to be so many conversations about it in the offseason because it's not just, do you want Russ or do you not want Russ? It's, do you want Russ at $50 million per year for the next 2 seasons, each season? Or do you want to get rid of Russ and have to take massive cap hits the next 2 seasons to not have him? And it's not an easy answer one way or the other. And on one hand, you can say 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Of course you want that. On the other hand, you
Right.
can say he's not even throwing for 200 yards. You can't have that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think we all know that the one thing Sean Payton loves more than anything is winning. And so I don't know if getting rid of Russ and then getting a younger guy and developing him for the next couple years. Yeah, it seems like maybe a rookie, like you said, like they're leaning on Russ like he's a rookie. Maybe a rookie could come in and do kind of what he's doing, but I still think there's enough of a learning curve with a young guy, CJ Stroud, outlier. There's just generally enough of a learning curve where you're like, is that worth the risk? Specifically for Sean, who wants to win, and he wants to win now.
Yep, it's very true. It's very true. And then final super chat coming in from Daniel says, love the show. If you could have one former Bronco in their prime, not named Elway or Manning, added to this team, who would it be? Discuss. Alexis, is it Todd Davis?
Todd Davis in his prime. Are we talking about current NFL though? Or are we talking
no,
about
just-
NFL? God,
Like to this
I was gonna be like
team.
Steve Atwater. Let's go. But Steve Atwater wouldn't have he would be like Kareem Jackson. He wouldn't get paid this year because of how he hits people. So
That's a good point.
Let me get back to you, Todd. Jump in.
Who do the Broncos really need?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like who we,
Give me Jake Plummer.
Not name.
Literally, give me Jake Plummer with this defense and this offense, and I think we win the Super Bowl.
Love me some Jake the Snake.
Wow.
I really think
2005 Jake Plummer.
I think you win the Super Bowl with Jake and this team. I really do.
Wow.
Mine is going to be Champ Bailey. I think you have Champ Bailey past or 10. I think the defense becomes even more elite, and then it just puts our offense in such a great position to win games. Russ can keep doing what he's doing, and we'll get 12 passing yards a game, and then we'll go home with
I got
wins.
one.
Man, I love that. That's definitely one that comes to mind. Potentially Ryan Clady and maybe you
Randall
move
Franklin.
Garrett to the right side.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just to have a dominant left tackle would be huge. Who are you thinking?
Demarius Thomas.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Demarius Thomas. I think him and Russ could build something there. Big body guy, opposite of Cortland. It's kind of like a Tim Patrick. We're missing Tim Patrick this year. We're feeling that.
Big time.
If Demarius Thomas was out there, I think we'd be much better.
Someone that I like from the comments as well, Shannon Sharp.
Yeah,
You get Shannon in here.
Yeah.
I think you're also Al Wilson.
yeah.
One that I think, Danny Trevathan, coverage linebacker, I think would really benefit this.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else? What other names?
I
do you
like
know?
Shannon Sharp just because it doesn't feel like we have a tight end right now.
It's so true.
What do you mean? We have Manhurts.
We have Lucas Kroll.
You guys are these guys are throwing shade, man.
That's Mr. End of Game, Lucas Kroll.
How many catches have you had? Did he say Sean Payton said?
I think he has one catch.
He has 0.
He has one catch. Oh, like, no, this year?
I think in his career he has 0 catches.
That's not
His
true. I think he has
entire
one. Hold on.
When the question was phrased to Sean on Monday morning, the reporter literally said, Sean, so like, take me through the thought process on the final play of the game, throwing to a guy that has 0 career catches. And again, I thought Sean was going to blow up on this reporter being like, this is so leading. What are you doing here? And Sean essentially, he said the thing about the lack of a shift from the receivers.
Yep.
And then he said, I guarantee, and I think he was going to say, I guarantee he wasn't the number 1 read on that play. And then he finished by saying, I understand why you're confused on what happened on that play because I was confused on what was happening on that play as well.
It's like a really nice
drew
way.
it up.
Yeah, exactly. Don't look at me. Look at the guys out there doing that.
Yeah, it's a nice way to softly toss Russ under the bus.
Yeah. Oh,
Russ
yeah.
under the bus.
Yeah.
That's a
big
tongue
time
twister.
This is the first time that we've talked to Sean since that press conference on Monday, where I thought he was just running over Russ left and right. Henry didn't think so, and we'll see what Sean's attitude today is toward that. All right, let's hop into the comments on the website. First one coming in from our friend Bronco Tiz says, a few things. I do not blame Alex Singleton at all for the penalty. I would be more upset if he didn't react. It would show a lack of fire. We won on our defense. Ask Todd Davis, is a quarterback headbutted like him Stroud did to Singleton? Would he turn around and walk away, or would he push Stroud off him like Singleton did? He held his composure by not throwing a punch.
Yeah. Probably would have been, if I was in the game, probably would have been like that Myles Garrett situation. I probably ripped his helmet off, tried to hit him with it. No, I'm just playing. But no, it wasn't. I think you got to stand up for yourself, just like CJ had to stand up for himself. Like, you can't let a quarterback get in your face either. It doesn't matter how you got in the backfield. Like, we're here now.
Yeah, quarterback too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the real issue was that Alex continued to run into CJ. But then, CJ wasn't having it, and then Alex wasn't having it. So, I don't think defensive guys are going to back down to a quarterback. No.
It just should have been a wash. Like, that was just an officiating mistake, but it literally cost the Broncos 4 points and the game.
Yep, it did.
So.
It did. And then second question from him. In the end, karma got to Stroud in that series. He asked for Houston to draft Tank Dell. Oh my gosh, what? If he never headbutts Singleton reacts, and that drive ends in a field goal. Dell never gets hurt on that touchdown, so his headbutt essentially cost him his wide receiver for the year.
That's a really different take on that.
Different's a good word.
Yeah.
That is.
I don't know.
It's a bummer that Tank Dell is out for the season because he was having such a good rookie year.
Yeah. He was having a great year.
Next comment coming in from our Vada Luke says, does Sean need to start designing plays where Jerry is the first read? Does Jerry need to start giving Russ presents? It does feel like Russ is one look at Cortland, second look at Cortland, then take off.
Yeah.
I mean, Cortland is his guy. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then when I feel like when Jerry's not, it might be some beef there because when Jerry's not on the field, then he looks to the slot. And he finds Jordan Humphreys or somebody else playing in the slot. What is Jerry's position? Like, I think it's just only when Jerry's on the field that he's not looking at the slot.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because there's 100% a trust factor between Russ and Cortland.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not negative, but there's definitely not a trust factor like that with Jerry.
Yeah.
Or maybe there is something
give me the
going
ball,
on.
man. Stop playing with me.
Yeah. Next one coming, or still from our Vada Luke, he says, one crazy aspect of how Hank's least favorite team, the Chiefs, are playing right now is that I don't discount our chances to win the division. I think with all the cannibalism in the AFC, we are in for a wild ride. So for the Broncos to be in the mix with the Chiefs, the Chiefs would have to, what would the Chiefs have to do?
Lose to the Raiders, right?
So they're 8-4 and they're 3-1 in the division.
3-4 in the division. 3-1. Yeah, so they'd have to lose another game in the division, and the Chiefs would have to go 2-3 down the stretch, and the Broncos 5-0. 2-3 and 5-0 is probably more likely than the Chiefs going 1-4, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what the Chiefs' schedule is for the rest of the season. So this week the Chiefs play. Okay, I'm pulling it up right now. This week the Chiefs play the Bengals. No, the Chiefs play the Bills. Sorry, they could lose that game.
Yeah, they could lose that one.
Then they play the Raiders at home.
That's a win.
They play the Bengals at home.
It's a win.
They play the Chargers on the road.
It's a win.
And
you skip the
and
Patriots.
They also play the Patriots.
Those are they're gonna maybe lose the Bills game.
Yeah. And like worst case, let's say the Raiders or the Chargers somehow get the best of them. They're going to win at least one of those games. They're absolutely beating the Patriots. And even with how good the Bengals were this past week, the Chiefs will beat a backup quarterback. So, damn, that's the first realization I've had of like, Okay. Yep. It doesn't matter if the Chiefs lost this past week.
Yeah.
They're still going to win the division.
Yeah, they're either going to go 4-1 or 3-2 over these last 5 games. So.
Now, what you can hope for from the Chiefs is obviously losing the playoffs. But what you can really hope for is that this will be the first non-12 win season in the Patrick Mahomes era. That's the worst he's ever been, is 12-5.
Feels like a small little victory for Broncos.
Right, exactly. If they can go 11-6, that'll be a dub for the Broncos.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely finding the glimmers of hope right now.
Yep. Or they go 11-6, as we had yesterday in our playoff prediction. The Broncos go into Arrowhead, play the Chiefs in that first playoff game, and beat them. That would be the way to take down the Chiefs. That's more realistic than the Chiefs losing the division.
Yeah, I think so.
You
Let's
calling
do
it? You calling it?
No. That's your hot take.
We got 2 quick super chats. Daniel chiming in and says, love the show. Oh, we hit that one already here. And Danny coming in and says, interesting pod interview by Susie Wargin with Mr. Todd Davis. Very impressive story. Goes a long way to explain his life success. Do you know that Bam Bam was a cartoon character on the Flintstones?
Yeah, I think that's where I got my name. I gave it to me from messing up our house so much and just breaking things. And so I think I got it from the character on the Flintstones for sure.
Because isn't the character on the Flintstones like just hitting things left and right and swinging a little bit? Yeah, exactly.
A club in his hand, yeah.
The little
So
one.
you took that energy and used it on a football field.
That's all I could
perfect.
do. Yeah.
Thank you for that big super chat as well, Denny. We really appreciate that. Alexis, I really appreciate you rolling with us today. Todd as well. And we're going to be back tomorrow with our final picks. Will the Broncos beat the Chargers? We'll see. Will they keep their playoff hopes alive? We'll give you our final picks tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.